You are the actor, director, producer, writer of your own movie. You can that quickly, like an actor, because really we're making it all up anyway. So it's just about waking up to that, and then creating the dream, creating the happy ending, creating the movie that we want to be in instead of the horror film.
Hi, everyone. I'm Daniel Lazarian.
And I'm Tara Langella.
And welcome to The Process, the show where we deconstruct the creative process with professionals from all disciplines. Join us as we offer a masterclass in innovation and imagination.
Today, we are absolutely thrilled to have as our guest the incredible Amy Valentine. Amy is a certified professional life coach who helps individuals align with their true passions and values, empowering them to make positive-driven decisions for career success and personal fulfillment. Through a collaborative and transformational process, she helps her clients break through limiting beliefs, overcome obstacles, and live a more fulfilling and purposeful life. Amy is a graduate of the Institute for Professional Excellence in Coaching and is a master practitioner of the Energy Leadership Index. She's also the host of the ever-growing video series Awakening with Amy, a weekly show that illustrates the concepts of her practice, many times interpreting the teachings of Neville Goddard, Esther Hicks, Florence Scovel Shinn, and others. And I absolutely love it and am obsessed with it. We are so happy to have you here, Amy. Welcome to The Process.
Oh my gosh, I am so happy to be here. Thank you so much for that beautiful intro.
So, Amy, we like to get started by asking a question to all our guests, which is, what does the creative process mean to you?
Oh, that's such a good question. So for me, being creative is following my bliss. You know, like Joseph Campbell said, following your bliss. Bashar says, follow your excitement. So creativity is not so much for me what I do. It's a sense, it's a beingness within. You know, I could experience that through cooking. You know, I grew up in a big Italian family. I love to cook. I love to eat. I love to drink wine. It could be, I love to write. So yeah, so creativity to me is your self-expression, how you express who you are being.
I love that. And I love what you, I am a big Joseph Campbell fanatic. So I love what you say about following your bliss. And I guess it kind of means what you're saying too about living as an art. Like your life is your art. When you're following that bliss, things sort of align.
Yeah, it's why we're here. We just forget because we're in the matrix of the 3D illusion, and we forget that we are here as creators, to create, to be creative, if you will.
Interesting. So being creative is part of what our makeup is, to create. So it's almost the same thing, or goes hand in hand with each other.
100%. That's what I believe to be true. Why else would God, source energy, infinite intelligence, create us in its image and likeness for us to come down here and suffer? No, it doesn't make sense. Suffering is made up. It's the human mind, not the divine mind. So yeah, I think that's what creativity is.
How do you stay in touch with that, though? You're talking about, I love what you say about the divine mind, right? So we have the divine mind, but then we have ego, and we have all of these stories. I think we all of us, which is why what we talk about here on The Process, we all have a story. We're all storytellers. But finding what that true story is, what your true story is the hard part. And I think that's the journey. It's finding the truth of that story, because I think we all have how we grew up, how things happen. We tell ourselves a story that's not true. So what is your process for your own story and unraveling that, and how do we discover that?
I'm going to make it easy for everybody. I'm going to demystify that whole thing, because what you said is so true. We believe that everything has to be a journey and a process. I would say just let go of that temporarily. You don't have to believe it or not believe it, but understand that life is only right now. Even when you're thinking about the past and that story, that is just one story. That was one option. Linear time makes us feel like, the past creates the present and the present creates the future, and it's this one big line. But that's only in 3D. In the 5D realm and higher, whatever you want to call it, they're not places. It's just a state of mind. There is no such thing as time. There's only now. So when you're thinking, my life is so hard because I had a shitty childhood, and my mom did this to me, and my dad did that to me, and I'm broke, and I'm that. Literally, you're creating that story now. You think you're remembering the past, but you're not. Everything in consciousness is right now. And I believe that's what we're here to awaken to. That, yes, we have linear time so we don't go insane. But that story that you're speaking of, that we think is so solid and real, that we think we are this story, that's only one option in infinity. So really, I would invite your viewers to just ponder that. Don't try to understand it, because the ego is the reasoning mind, right? It will never believe that. It will never believe your greatness. It will always keep you in limitation. But remember, we are one with that divine mind. Whether we forget it or not, it's our natural state. So it's about broadening your awareness to understand who you really are, is always that divine love connected and always with that source energy. You're never separate. The ego wants to separate you and tell you you're this or you're that, but that's not who you really are. So I'm just suggesting you don't have to try to understand it. Just cultivate that relationship with your inner being, your inner self, your higher you, the unseen part of you. And it will naturally start to make sense, because it's who we really are.
Is that kind of, not to oversimplify it at all, but is that similar to the concept of, when you wake up, every day is a brand new day, and don't worry about all the trauma that happened the day before, because you're just setting yourself up for failure, so to speak? Like you're always just in the moment, in the now, and experiencing life, and kind of just have that positive thinking process going on and not worrying about the past.
You're absolutely correct. So it's not that you're not going to have those thoughts of maybe sadness or disappointment. It's about, where are you dwelling, right? In my Father's house are many mansions. And when I go, I prepare a place. I'm not too up on scripture, but that's in scripture. I only know that because of Neville Goddard. I read him every day. But what he means is, where are you living in your consciousness, in your imagination right now? Not, that fleeting negative thought. Because of course, we're here to experience all, thought, positive, negative. It's, where am I dwelling? Where am I living? That matters. And that's only ever now. Now. And I would say not even each day is a new moment. Every moment is a new now moment.
Right. That's such a good point.
That's such a great point. I think it's one of the reasons I love acting so much, because I really do think that's part of it, because you have to be in the now. We're all in the now, right? None of us know what we're going to be saying next or talking about. And when you're acting and you're in that moment with that partner, there's no past, there's no present, there's no present, there's no past, there's no future. There's only the present of what's happening. And I think that's what people respond to, especially when you're watching a performance on stage, right? That's it. That moment is just then. It's not going to happen again. So how do we stay in that moment? Is that possible to stay in that moment? How do we do
believe
that?
Anything is possible, but think about it. that actor example is the best example because, and Dolores Cannon said this too, you are the actor, director, producer, writer of your own movie, of your own script. So think about that actor as you're stepping onto the stage. Right before you're stepping onto that stage, you haven't quite embodied the character yet. Or maybe it's a movie set, however you want to, use the example. You're still you, you're still Tara, you're still Dan, you're still Amy. But when you get into whatever the process is, you step into character, whether it's on stage, now you're becoming the character. You're quantum jumping into another reality, right? And we're doing that anyway. We're doing that. We don't even know we're doing it. Every time we're focusing. So do we stay there? No, we're always jumping. I might feel a tinge of lack. Maybe I got a huge bill that came in, but I remind myself, oh, that's not who I am. You can that quickly, like an actor, because really we're making it all up anyway. So it's just about waking up to that, and then and creating the dream, creating the happy ending, creating the movie that we want to be in instead of the horror film.
So it's almost when you're going on stage.
Well, you're still Dan, right? But if you're playing a guy named Mike, whatever, and you're a mobster, you're not a mobster. But consciousness, this is the powerful thing. The universe, that infinite intelligence, has no idea what is real and what is not real because it's just creative. It's just creative power. That's it.
Is it almost like life? I've heard the expression "life is a game," or you're saying life is the story, life is the movie. So if something happens, it's not the end of the world. Just kind of let things roll off a little easier, and don't be so focused on everything has to be a specific way that you think it should be.
Right, because then you're clinging. Now you're in fear. There's only one emotion, and that's love. That's unconditional love. But if we put it through the egoic structure of fear, now we are clinging. So yes, it's almost as if I just lost my train of thought. But the now moment is your power, because if you don't let go of that guy that slipped you off in traffic, or the thing that happened 5 years ago, and you're still talking about that guy that hurt your feelings, or it's like, woe is me. It's like it's literally a self-fulfilling prophecy. You're recreating it in the moment. So it's not about avoiding or denying that something negative has happened. It's about seeing the bigger picture around it.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And rewriting the script.
Oh, and Neville Goddard talks about revision. Literally, you don't change. A Course in Miracles says the script is written. So that means for every movie, there's a script, right?
Yes.
Whatever gets filmed, you can't change that film, but you can write a new one.
Amy, I'd like to ask you, in researching you, you had started out owning a business, owning a retail store. You were in the real estate industry. And then there was a shift in your thinking, I believe, that eventually ended up to you becoming a life coach. Would you say that shift was creativity, or can you talk about that change that happened to you? And so our viewers, because I know a lot of, especially people in the creative field, are starting their own businesses or trying to make that transition. So we'd love to hear your perspective on that.
Oh, that is such a great question. So I really started out when I graduated college. I had a summer job at a local restaurant that it was supposed to be 3 months. It turned into 3.5 years. So that summer job as a bartender, a server, prepared me for, my mom and I bought a restaurant back in 97. The restaurant was the precursor to the gift shop and my real estate career. But the point is, for your question, they were all expressions. They were all like different children, all expressions of creativity. But what happened was it started to become a drag. Just like with anything, like if you're trying to write that book or finish that chapter or trying to get into character, it's about no effort. it's effortless, right? So my creativity, I felt, was getting squelched and squelched and squelched and squelched. Now, I didn't know all this stuff back then, that I was actually doing it to myself by what I was believing to be true. But yes, coaching for me felt like freedom, because I had hired a coach to what I thought was to help me with my real estate career. And she ended up helping me realize I didn't even want to be in the real estate business. What I wanted was freedom. And what is the basis of all creativity is freedom of your own expression, whether it's literally doing a project or having the freedom day to day, instead of having to get up at a certain time and, that kind of thing. It just got old for me. So I guess looking back, I wanted to find what was more meaningful. Not that they weren't meaningful, they just lost their meaning for me, meaning I wanted to move on. And that's what we're here to do. People tried to stay in one role because they're so afraid of change, but we're here to expand. And so, life coaching for me, and it's like, I feel like I'm expanding every day, just doing it full time now. So, it's so, for me, yes, it is using my creative power. So I hope that answered your question.
Oh, absolutely. No, absolutely. Absolutely. Did you feel, when you first were starting out, did you feel, or did you hear those voices, that fear creeping, and like, oh my God, I'm changing careers. Am I going to be able to make enough money? Am I going to be able to do this? But you just kind of listened to it and then put it in its place and moved on. Correct? Or
well, I had it for a long time. I was part-time. I had just my little toe in coaching. I was doing it on the side, kind of like
got it.
Friends and family. And I still had the restaurant with my mom. And it really wasn't until about a year and a half or so ago, I really went full-time. Honestly, my dog got sick and I had to stay home. Long story short, that to me was the divine intelligence saying, stop, Amy, stop the struggle. This is what you're meant to do. Now let go of the fear. I mean, I still get afraid sometimes or doubt myself, but I know what to do with it now. I just say, you have no power over me unless I give you power. So run along.
I love that.
It reminds me of something. I'm obsessed with the idea of our shadow, the shadow. And when you were talking about fear and your shadow, and I've had some teachings where it's, there's this desire to, I've got to get rid of that shadow part of myself. I've got to get rid of it. But it's almost about, no, you're never going to get rid of your shadow. You're never going to. So you might as well get to know your shadow and kind of bring your shadow along with you and be like, okay, this is what we're going to do. It's kind of like what you were just talking about, Amy, about the fear. It's like you acknowledge the fear is there and that it's going to be there. Acknowledge that shadow part of yourself. Because in some ways, I feel that fear can be a friend if it pushes you. It can, it just pushes you past that boundary, right? Because that's what creativity is. It's not drawing in the lines. We have to draw out of the lines. We have to cross the line. There is no line. So I think fear can push you there.
Well, what you're describing is resistance. So with creativity, with manifesting what you desire, there has to be some resistance. The fear is only there for the relativity. Really, I don't want to sound too mystical and crazy, but there's really only one emotion, and it's love. It's loving. The shadow that you're speaking of, it is made up. It's made up. So it doesn't matter if you can't get rid of anything in infinity. Where are you going to put the shadow? There's nowhere to put it. It's like the monster under the bed. The shadow's only there if you think it's there. Yeah. Do you see what I mean? So it's not about getting rid of it. You can't get rid of anything. It's about understanding what the shadow means. If we need that relativity, if we didn't have the fear, we wouldn't know what love is. We're here to experience everything because it's like our GPS. Our emotions are our guidance. So what happens is we give it a character and we think that ego is real. Remember, that shadow and that ego is not really real. It's an experience of reality, but ultimate reality is pure positive love. Everything else is made up. So if you want to do shadow work, rock it. But I'm here to tell you, you don't need to do shadow work. Every time I have a friend that I grew up with my whole life, and I'm not even going to give details because just in case she sees the show, but she's in a relationship she doesn't really want to be in. And she's like, well, how do I get rid of this codependency? And I'm like, stop telling that story. She's like, what do you mean? I said, stop telling the story of codependency. And it has to fade back into love. Think about that. When you stop looking at your shadow, that shadow has to fade right back into the only energy that there is, love. Love it all.
Amy, can you share maybe with one of your clients, without getting too specific, but an instance where maybe they used creativity or had that shift and you felt they had a success or like a positive experience, and like what that was like for them and for you as their coach or as their life coach?
I have one client, she about 2 years ago had a young child. It was her third child. She was, a stay-at-home mom. She had, quit her job when she got pregnant. And he was about 9 months old. And she was thinking about going back to work. So she wanted coaching around, how do I, be a mom of 3 and go back to work? And what we worked on was, I said, stop thinking about a specific job. I kind of guided her to say, what does it feel like? What does your new job feel like? And that's what we practiced on the calls. And what ended up happening was she was just living in her imagination, like, oh, wouldn't it be cool if? Wouldn't it be nice if? She was kind of creating that movie, that script within, but she wasn't attached to, she didn't have to get a job. It was just something she was softly thinking about. And what ended up happening was 2 different companies on LinkedIn reached out to her and said, we will create a job around your schedule. And she ended up taking one and basically worked part-time until her son was a little bit older and she felt comfortable. And now she's still with that company today, working full-time, and she's in, a manager level. So I really think using her imagination was that creative process for her.
Yeah.
These 2 offers came out of nowhere. She wasn't actively looking. They found her. Because everything in creation is finished. We just have to open up to what's already there.
Well, doesn't Neville Goddard say that imagination is power? Imagination is power.
He says it's God.
Oh.
He said your imagination is the Christ within you, the I am, is the God, your connection with God. He says you already are that which you would like to be. It's only your refusal to believe it that keeps it from you.
Wow.
You're already everything you want to be.
I love that. You're already there.
You're already there. You have to claim it, though. He says you are the operant power. It's not enough to think of it. You have to think from it. Before you have any physical evidence of it, you have to go within that's what he calls the imagination. It's your God. And he said, never imagine anything of yourself that you wouldn't imagine for God.
It reminds me, we've spoken a lot about Stella Adler, an acting teacher that I had, and one of her students was Marlon Brando, and he many times said that actors spend all this time taking classes to basically unlearn life and get back to that 5-year-old kid that has that imagination that they just innately had and didn't have to work on because it was their essence and that sense of play.
Yeah.
And basically what you just said made me think we are born with that. That is who we are, that imagination, that creativity, to think we can do anything.
100% right. And we have to forget, we have to kind of have amnesia but it is. It's all spiritual teachers talk about getting back to what Marlon Brando said, that getting back to that little child, that it was natural to be in that kind of, dream world. Because really, when Neville says imagination, he's not talking about fantasy. He's saying nothing is real. Everything is first imagined, and then it becomes a reality. So yeah, I love that. I think that's a beautiful example Marlon Brando gave. Yeah, we all need to unlearn the adult matrix BS and wake up in the dream. Be awake in the dream.
Well, he gives the example, as an adult, is say, "Oh, hi, Amy, how are you doing? How are you?" And then he goes, and Stella used to talk about this too, but do you really, when you say, "How are you?" do you really want to know how that person is? Do you really care? She said, we just, blather and blather, but we don't really mean anything because we're just disconnected from who we are.
Well, that's right, because we're not in the present moment. We're in the past, or we're in the future. Well, I have to take the acting classes to become a better actor. Or for me, I have to take more certifications to be a better coach. That's fear. It's conning you into thinking that you have to be more by getting from the 3D world. It's the opposite. You have to be more within. That's the creative power, is being more within, being one with, remembering you're one with the biggest creative power of the world, which is source energy, God, whatever you want to call it, infinite intelligence that made us in its image and likeness. Why? Not to say no to us, to say yes, you can have whatever you want. You can be whatever you want.
We've talked a lot about, especially entrepreneurs, have that adage that if you believe in something wholeheartedly, then others will believe in it. So again, that's another parallel that I'm hearing with you. And it's funny, we have so many different guests, but the same kind of concepts keep on coming up. And that was it for me when you said that. It's drawing a connection that you believing in something wholeheartedly, in essence, is making it a reality where others will believe it.
100%. And belief, like Abraham Hicks says, they say a belief is just a thought you keep thinking. So, I mean, it took me years to wrap my brain around that. I'm not even kidding you. And I study this stuff every single day. And I'm like, what's she talking about? It's because we're taught that our beliefs are real. No, there's only one true belief. I mean, even look at the word belief. It's B-E-L-I-E in the middle of it, right? It's a lie. We believe. See, the only belief you need is that you're wholly unlimited. That's it. That's what I'm working on right now with all my clients. Just believe you're unlimited. I mean, think about the freedom in that. Talk about creative power. Oh my God.
Tara, remember we had Tom Antonellis on the show, and he said in order for him to be successful, whenever he got an audition for a part, he said to himself, I am perfect for this role. And we talked about being delusional, but not in a crazy way. Like, you kind of suspend disbelief and you tell yourself, I am perfect for this part.
Yes.
Because that you're changing your thinking, and he has a lot of success with that.
But once you claim that, once he claimed that, it is. Do you see? It's only the doubt that makes it that version of you, that role, not be yours, right? So I know it's kind of hard to wrap your brain around it because you can't really. It's in the heart, but that's what Muhammad Ali did when he was Cassius Clay. I am the greatest. I am the greatest. I'm the double greatest. I'm so great, I knock him out in 8. Well, and look it up. I mean, there's video on this. Like, it happened. Everything he said, I didn't even believe it at first. I just told myself I was the greatest. And then he became the greatest.
It's true. It's true. And back again, Dan, what you're saying, what Tom said, and it is true about being, especially when we are, let's face it, life throws a lot at us. And it's when you're a creative or in a creative field, I mean, there's a lot of rejection. There's a lot of that you have to deal with on a consistent basis. So it does help to be what we say, slightly delusional, slightly delusional, that you have to have that confidence. And I also think that at a certain point too, I want to talk about intuition with you, Amy. I think you have to really kind of, I think, trust your own intuition. And that's something else I think that we forget as we get older. We kind of lose touch. I'm pointing to my center. We kind of lose sight of that feeling and that gut and that said, well, no, I can't do that because, and then we just, become wishy-washy about it. But that's also your power. Do you have ways or maybe your own process of how you were you always in touch with your intuition, or was that something, what was part of your process of developing that or making it stronger? So because you exude this confidence and this trust in your voice, in yourself. How did you develop that?
I have to say, I don't think I tried to develop it. I think I was an introvert my whole life, even as a little child. And I feel like I naturally held on to that within me. It's gotten me out of a lot of possible dangerous situations. I mean, I'm literally following my intuition, even in spite of the outside world. I think that it's important for everybody to know that everybody has an intuitive connection. It's just covered up, right, by doubt and fear. So it's important to understand. You just need a little tiny bit of spiritual understanding to really, and intuition. So for me, intuition is the heart. The heart just feels and knows the truth. It does not explain. It only points the way. Now, the mind is a polarity organ, right? Left, right, good, bad, right? And we need that for survival. But it's about, like Greg Braden teaches. He's a great teacher. He's a scientist and also a spiritual teacher. He talks about heart-mind coherence. And in 1991, science found that your heart has a neural network. It has over 40,000 cells that create its own neural network that works independently of the human mind. And it is your intuition. It's that higher intelligence. So when you connect to that, he has a process that I teach my clients. When you start connecting to that every single day, it gets easier and easier to hear because it's a soft whisper. It's never the voice of fear, like the mind and the ego is going to, you know what I mean? And understand too, collectively, we have a collective fear, a collective consciousness and fear that we all can tap into. But when you said about the struggles of becoming an actor, right? Collectively, that has been shoved in society that, only the select few make it. But remember that is a story within you and then gets projected out. It's not true in and of itself. So that's the time when I would say, well, okay, let that belief be there because it seems so true. And you tap into your intuition. And Greg talks about all the indigenous cultures and societies that don't have, like technology, they always touch their heart center for their intuition. So you tap on your heart center lightly, you take a few slow, deep breaths. That tells your brain and your body that it's okay, that it's safe to calm down. And then you ask your heart a question. Should I go for that role? What's my next creative move? How can I be more creative today or tomorrow? And whatever it is, should I get on that airplane? And literally your heart will answer you before you even finish the question.
It's kind of like that reaction that whenever you get startled or something happens where you're scared, you just instinctively take your hand and place it on your heart. I've done that several times. Like if someone startles me and it's not something you learn, it's just instinctive.
That's exactly right. That's your intuition saying, don't be afraid. I've got you. Yeah. Or maybe be afraid and go this way, not that way.
Amy, you give so much of your energy to coach others. How do you keep yourself grounded? How do you separate that energy, or do you not?
Oh, no, I do. I just don't get in their story.
Huh?
My mom said something to me interesting the other day. I was here with my mom and my really good girlfriend, Alicia, and we were just talking and having a glass of wine. And My mom said to me, and I don't remember why it all came up. She's like, Alicia, she's saying to my friend, Amy just isn't a people pleaser. And I said, no, I'm really not. And I'm like, where are you going with this, Mom? And she's like, what? I said, Mom, I love making people happy. I love when my clients have a breakthrough. I love talking to clients. But what it is I let go of the outcome. It's not for me to jump in their story or jump in their reality and fix them. I don't believe that. I believe people pleasing is trying to fix something out there. And my process is to see them, no matter what they're telling me, whatever they want coaching on, as whole and perfect right now. They just forgot it. So I'm just their guide. I'm just their co-pilot, like the backup singer making the song sound better. So that's to answer your question, Tara. That's such a great question, because you're right. You do give a lot of energy, but when you understand that you're not attached to the outcome, that's one thing IPAC beat down our throat, is that attachment is fear. We are not, no matter, just because they're paying us for our services doesn't mean we are attached. It's up to them. So yeah, my thing is, I don't get in their story.
I love
and that
that.
takes practice, it takes practice, because at first you are attached because you're scared. You're maybe a little insecure. Maybe you haven't done it long enough, but I'm here to say, just suspend all of that and just go again with your intuition, the higher intelligence. Let that guide you. Even when I was preparing for this interview, I was, doing a couple extra curls for the hair, making the makeup. And when I was having fun with it. So it wasn't what I was doing. It was that I was having fun doing it. And I think that's the key to everything creative. Have fun doing it. Whether it's coaching, whether it's doing a podcast, lighten up, be that kid again, and just imagine it fulfilling and satisfaction and successful and everything like that. Yeah. So I think I just started babbling on. So,
well, Amy, to that end, why don't we, a lot of our viewers might not know exactly what a life coach is, or have like a vague idea. Why don't you explain or tell us what is a life coach, and, who do you find are your best clients, or the best ways that someone would outreach a life coach?
Ooh, that's a good question. So it's so hard to say what a life coach is, but let me tell you what I did. I volunteered for IPAC last spring, and the lead trainer on the call described life coaching like this. She said, this is what I tell people. Do you ever have a friend or somebody in your life that just listens to you completely unconditionally? And most people say, no, not really. She's like, well, that's what a life coach is. It's somebody to just listen with compassion, listen with open-mindedness, somebody. And then what you're listening for is, where are they blocked? Where are they telling themselves a limiting story? Now, you're not telling them that. So a life coach is literally like your co-creator, your co-creative partner. So yeah, I like to say I'm support staff. And it's helping you become greater, become the person you already are, like Neville says, but you just can't quite see it because you're just a little bit tunnel vision with the fear and the limiting beliefs. So yeah, it's a co-creative partner. That's what a life coach is for me.
Amy, can you reference Neville Goddard, Esther Hicks, a lot of spiritual teachers? Is there a quote that that one of them has, that you use, or that is very, like, let's say, true to your heart or dear to you, that is just something that maybe inspires you to do what you do, or like one of the quotes that really means something to you, and what it does mean to you?
Well, the one I said earlier is really powerful, about you already are who you want to be. But here's another one that I actually wrote down. I was taking notes before I was getting ready for the show. Imagination is the power to perceive what is absent from your senses. Imagination is the ability to perceive what is absent from your senses. So, Neville Goddard, what is he saying there? That our 5D senses, taste, touch, our outer eyes only can see partial pictures. It's like an illusion. So the illusion, it's not that it's not there, it's just not the whole picture. And so he's saying your imagination, the God, the connection with that God power, that creative power, is the big picture. And you just have to kind of deny the evidences of your senses long enough, just like that character, Tara, that said to you all those years ago that, oh, it's too hard to get into acting. I just probably should give up. That belief was just like one little pinprick of your potential, because that's the seen belief, that's the seen reality, the assumption, right? When everything else, he says, everything is real to him. He said, no facts are final. So that's what I hold true in my heart, that and use my imagination like that child, like Marlon Brando says, be that childlike person. But children don't imagine like it's their job.
Yes. That's so true.
They
so
imagine true. Just because it's who they are.
They just do it.
They just
do it. You say, be a pirate. They're like, I'm a pirate. They don't say, what kind of pirate am I? Am I a mean pirate? Now, how big is my ship? Now, when I come onto the ship, should I be happy? Is this enough? No, they don't do that. They're a pirate instantaneously.
Exactly. And we all have to remember that unworthiness is false. It's taught. It's not real. Stop making it real. Stop believing in the shadow. And the shadow has to be illuminated, because it'll go right back into pure positive love. So yeah, that's what I, every day, because especially if you have a bad day or, whatever, something happens, it's like, and I'm like, one thing that we humans do is like, we try to be too positive. Like, I've noticed that about myself. Like, oh my God, I'm having a negative thought. Oh my God, I'm having a bad day. Oh my God, that didn't turn out the way I wanted to. I should know better. Then we start feeling bad about having a negative. It's just crazy.
I love that. I love that you said that. Yeah, it's so true. It's so true. It's kind of like, I feel like we're almost inundated with like, I mean, hey, listen, it's great. We want to be positive, but it's almost like, gotta be positive. Everything's great. But I mean, do you see that? Because I feel like that's kind of like this wave where everybody's sort of like, everything is just magnificent and wonderful. And it is, but we have to acknowledge everything else. It's okay to do that. It's okay to have a bad day.
If Neville's right, if Neville is right, and our imagination is the creative power, is the God of our reality, then we can act all we want and pretend we're positive, but that's going to be a negative experience, because you cannot mock God. Like it says in scriptures, God will not be mocked. That's not a warning. That's not like, oh, fear God. No, that's like, no, you can't. Vibration doesn't lie. It's like, you can't turn on that country western station and think you're getting rock and roll. I mean, it doesn't work. It doesn't work that way. So you can play like positive all you want, but the universe hears what you mean. It doesn't hear what you say. So it's not about being positive all the time. It's not worrying about your negative thoughts, right? It's knowing that you are pure positive energy. It's not the fleeting 3D feeling of positivity or negativity. It's that's how I get out of it every single time, is when I have that negative thought, I remember who I really am. I am that I am. That God said to Moses, what's your name? And God said, I am that I am. The name of God is I am, and that's our name as well. Whoever you say you are, you will become. You will be. So it's a beingness. It's a being that I already am, that pure positivity. I just forgot.
Words are power.
Power.
They're power.
It is the creative power. The word, right? The word of God. It's not words, meaning the English language. It's the word. It's what you mean. It's what you mean when you say the words. And there's only, again, love or fear. And there's really only love, but it can be put through a filter of fear.
But you're right, Amy. It's the intention behind that. It's the feeling behind that. It's not the words themselves. Just as an actor, they're just words on paper. They mean nothing. If you just say the words, no one's going to feel anything. You feel nothing. What are they doing? They're just reading. But when you put the character behind it and the intention and the emotion, well, there's the magic.
Oh, that's a beautiful example. I hope everybody really hears what you just said. I really do, because that is the difference. If anybody's struggling right now in whatever way, whether it's a health issue, a financial issue, it doesn't matter. Really, what you just said is the key that unlocks the self-imposed prison of whatever the so-called problem is, because there can never be a problem without a solution.
Mm-hmm.
They're one and the same. There's no there's no effect without a cause, no cause without an effect.
That's right.
They're one. So the creative power, that's what we're talking about, creativity, it's so much bigger than we're taught to believe.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, people think, oh, I'm an artist, or oh, I'm a writer, or oh, I'm a dancer. But it's so much bigger than that. Like you just said, you're tapping into the essence of the character. And that's how you do it. You step out of the essence of Amy or Dan or Tara, and you say, who do I want to be now? Abraham Hicks, Esther Hicks, who channels Abraham, says you cannot have a happy ending to an unhappy life. So the key is to play the game, is to be happy, be fulfilled. Not happiness that's fleeting, like, oh, I just bought myself a new something and now I'm happy and that's fleeting. No, the happiness of who you really are is only pure fulfillment, wanting you to experience what's next. Okay, next. And that's what Abraham says, the mantra of the universe is more. It's expansion. God created us in its image and likeness so God could know itself through us. If that's not the creative power, no matter what avenue you want to explore that in, I don't know what is. So yeah, it's a game. Lighten up, have fun. And Abraham says too that the purpose of our life is joy. The basis of our life is freedom. Freedom to choose. You can choose unhappy, or you can choose happy. All up to you at every moment.
Wow, that's so profound when you really think about it.
The only reason why we ever feel any kind of fear, no matter if it's doubt, if it's insecurity, whatever the mask, it's all just fear. The only reason is because we're separating ourselves from that creative power in that moment. Otherwise, we wouldn't feel the fear. So that is that higher you, that higher version of you that's saying you can have it, you can be it. Now imagine it. It just become it within. And that's what we're here to be, creators. So yeah, it's calling it out. Like Byron Katie says, she didn't change her negative thoughts. She didn't fight her negative thoughts. She just stopped, questioned the validity of them. And when you start questioning them and start exploring, like, are you really true? How can I know that you're true? Who would I be without this thought? That's Byron Katie. You really, the fear just kind of shrinks down. like what was that movie, The Wizard of Oz? It's like they shrink. It's like she's the wish is
the wicked wish.
The wicked wish is
I'm
shrinking. I'm melting. Yeah, because fear can't exist in the light of love. So,
wow.
I just feel like we had, Tara and I are both like, we just had this therapy session. I was like, you weren't expecting this.
I'm like, this is just like, yeah, this is like a session with Amy. I'm like, oh man,
I know.
I feel so much lighter.
Yay! I love it.
I recognize the look on Dan. We're both like, this is amazing.
I love it. And no, we're not drinking.
Shadow.
Bye-bye, Shadow. Yeah.
Wow, this was phenomenal. Thank you. This was great, Amy. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for your wisdom and just your, just your essence and sharing everything with us, your teachings, your vulnerability. This has just been magnificent. Thank you.
Oh, thank you so much. It's been my honor, honestly.
And a lot of our audience are creative, so I think they're going to find a lot of value in this, of the things that you were saying, especially in the industries that they work in.
Oh, God, I hope so. And, again, just connect with what you love. Like Joseph Campbell said, it sounds so simple. It sounds like a platitude, but it's not. If you really embody it every single day, however you want to do it. Some people like to walk in nature. Some people like to meditate. But yeah, the creative audience, just know whatever it is you can be it. Don't listen to the world of Caesar, like Neville says. Neville called the 3D world, the physical world, the world of Caesar, meaning it's just old news, blah, 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 blah. Don't take your cues from the outer world. Take the cues from within. So whatever you want to be, the fact that you can even desire it means you can have it and you can be it. Otherwise, you wouldn't be able to imagine it.
Wow. So, Amy, why don't you share with everyone Awakening with Amy? Tell us a little bit about that and where they can watch it and where they can find you.
Awakening with Amy is my YouTube channel. It's at Awakening with Amy. It's AV Life Coaching. I put a video out once a week, every Sunday right now. And also I do some shorts, during the week as well, teaching everything that we talked about today. I'm kind of learning. I called it Awakening with Amy because I'm awakening with everybody else. So it's kind of just helping people become empowered to be more, to have more, to be that unlimited person that you came to wake up, to get out of the matrix, take the red pill, and be whatever you want to be. And also, I have a beautiful website. It's called avlifecoaching.com. And there's a lot of just stuff about me, but also you can sign up for coaching. I offer one-on-one sessions. I offer packages. And I also I started just recently an email coaching option for maybe people that, one thing about coaching, I will say, I think it should be accessible. I don't think it should be like $10,000 to sign up for a coach. If you want that kind of coach, believe me, they're out there and they're fantastic as well. But I believe coaching should be just like, I don't know, buying a new outfit, but it's instead of being empowered from without, empowering you from within. It's avlifecoaching.com and also my YouTube channel at Awakening with Amy.
Oh, fantastic, Amy. Thank you so much for being our guest. We really, really enjoyed it.
Thank you for having me. I had so much fun. So it's just an amazing, I feel high right now. It's just an amazing.
Oh, did you get our packet that I mailed you before?
Oh,
You
yeah.
should have arrived.
Wink,
Yeah,
wink.
we send that to all of our guests.
Yes.
Brilliant.
That in a mug.